Good morning again, comrades. The name is Alva from the National Workers Union. I was asked to share a few words with you as we get ready to celebrate the 85th anniversary of the Labor Day of June 19, 1937. Today being the 17th of June, 2022. Let me begin by asking all of you if any of you would know what this picture is all about and what this has to do with Labor Day. What does this have to do with the uprising of our people on June the 19th, 1937? Why were workers in Faizabad and through the oil fields on strike? And then later that day, that morning, we had people in Arima, Sandy Grande, even in Tobago. They too were on strike on that day, you know. Well, for those of you who don't know, you see this picture? This is a cow tongue. It might sound funny, but this is what it was all about. If you go back to the Trinidad Guardian of that era, you would see that at the bottom of the page, one cow tongue was 72 cents a pound. 72 cents a pound in that day. And your great-grandparents was working for 56 cents a day. So here you have people's salary, 56 cents a day they get in, and a pound of meat was 72 cents. You know what that means? Well, your great-grandparents was catching a nenen to survive because they couldn't afford to buy meat. They couldn't afford it. That is how your great-grandparents were living, you know, and your grandparents too. And that is why through the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago, when the strike started, initiated by Butler in Faizabad, the whole country went down, including Tobago. Well, don't talk about the people in Scarborough, how they went down on strike as well. And it was after the strike began and the Governor General heard what the people were demanding, he then said, by the following week, that salaries would now move up from 56 cents a day to 72 cents a day. So we could now buy 1 pound of cow tongue with a day's pay. And in addition to that, the 72 cents a day would be paid on the basis of an 8-hour workday and not a 9-hour workday. So for the first time, we won the 8-hour workday. That's how people working 8 hours a day now. Because your great-grandparents and your grandparents, they fought for that. And we must celebrate. That is cause for celebration. They were able to get that increase, and they were able to get the workday to come down to 8 hours. The rest of the world was working on 8 hours a day since the 1888 period, nearly 50 years before. But we didn't have that until 1937. We had to fight for that. But that is not all that our great-grandparents won. If you go back to the Trinidad Guardian newspaper of the, sorry I didn't have all the clips, but they want things like sick leave with pay. It didn't have that then. 2 weeks sick leave with pay, they demanded that. All in Diego Martin, San Fernando, Rio Claro, Sandy Grande, Arima, El Dorado. That was the demand. 2 weeks sick leave with pay. 2 weeks vacation leave with pay. Yes. And in addition to all of that, our people were able to win for the first time into law workmen's compensation. If you go back and look at the original year when the ordinance was passed, it was right after the strike in 1937. We got workmen's compensation. So we have had that for the past 85 years. And now they're talking about taking away workmen's compensation. That is a proposal that's on the table, and we will deal with that later. In addition to workmen's compensation, our foreparents were able to win the right to vote. They were able to win the introduction of old age pension, because Butler's argument at the time was that we were citizens of Britain. Even though we were a colony of Britain, we were British citizens, and they had to treat like alike. Because in London, in Britain, those over there, when they retired, they got pension. We didn't get anything. So we fought and we won that. That's how old age pension came in Trinidad, you know, because of that strike. Old age pension didn't come because some government PM gave us that. No, that wasn't so at all. Go back to the time when the Old Age Pension Act was passed, and you will see it was a direct result of the uprising in 1937. We also want free education, free books, school meals, uniform for our school children to go to school. That is how they treated British citizens who couldn't afford. They got that. We were fighting for that, and we got that. All of these things that we enjoy today and take for granted, that's a direct product of what your great-grandparents fought for and won. The fact that very soon we're going to be celebrating our country's independence, which we got eventually in 1962, go back to the newspapers then, and you will see that the very start of the strike, the headlines were reading Home Rule. We were calling for Home Rule in 1937. In fact, Butler's party was then the Home Rule Party. So we were calling for independence and fought for that since the 1930s. Eventually we won it in 1962. So we have every right to celebrate Labor Day. Every right. We have everything to celebrate on Labor Day this year, and to be proud of the achievements that our people were able to win back in 1937. Today, however, all those things are under threat. Everything we fought for and won through our great-grandparents, that is under threat. So on Labor Day, let us give praise to all our foreparents who took part in that great uprising and won all these benefits, including the right to vote. We didn't have the right to vote, you know. I say let us celebrate because it was at a tremendous cost to them. Cost to them because many of them lost their lives, you know. The records indicated more than 14 people were killed and hundreds were wounded. Quite a number of people were rounded up and put into jail. People like Elmer Francois, Christina King. We had made tremendous sacrifices for all the things that we have achieved, and we certainly need to congratulate our foreparents for the wonderful job that they did in providing us with the things that we continue to enjoy today. My own grandparents from Rio Claro, they would tell me stories about well, for those who don't know, Grandma Allen, she was a seamstress in the Rio Claro Junction. Some of you may know her. And my Uncle Eddie, he was the sign painter for the Rio Claro Corporation. They would tell us stories about 1937 and how the people of Rio Claro also stood the ground and the contribution they made. I think that sometime next week or so they will be holding some celebration on that occasion. Right? But the people themselves had taken matters into their hands. They had decided that enough was enough. They put up their demands, and 99% of what they fought for, they have achieved that. So we have real cause to celebrate. Today, however, it seems as if we really coming back full circle, because a lot of people, when they go to the grocery now, you should read it in the newspapers, they can't afford to buy meat. Yeah? The minimum wage is hopeless, completely hopeless. So that is completely hopeless. We need to do something about that, and all the government is studying to do is to give us our 4%. And the thousands of others who are not unionized, how are they to survive? How have they been surviving? And on top of all of that, now they want to talk about cutting people NIS pension. Well, I bring the page, because it have a lot of doubting Thomases who don't believe. You see, this is an extract from the NIS financial statements, right? It is on their website. It is for the 2020-21 report. It was tabled in Parliament in February of this year. So it is official documentation that you're looking at. And I just want to read for you the bottom part of it. It says legislative amendments. You go to page 47 of the report. Legislative amendments. The following legislative amendments were proposed in line with recommendations of the 10th Actuarial Report. 1. Increase the contribution rate to 16.2%. 2. The minimum pension should be frozen to give at most 80% of the minimum wage. 3. Increase retirement age to 65. And 4. Reduce pension by 6% each year for each year retirement benefit claim before the age of 65. And some of you thought that I wasn't serious when I spoke about the coming to cut the NIS pension. But that is the proposal. It is in the NIS annual report. It has been tabled in Parliament since the 10th of February or somewhere thereabouts this year. So it's there. Everything that we fought for and won is under attack. The Chamber of Commerce, they had a big meeting, all the chambers, in 2019. And if you hear what they get on in that meeting, they condemning the judges of the industrial court because of the kind of judgments that they were given then. They even wanted to get rid of the president of the court, for that matter. When they were talking about, oh, look at the judgments that they passing out, giving workers this amount of money and that amount of money. Right? And what they were saying was that they're robbing the rich to give to the poor because of the damages that were being awarded to workers who were dismissed in circumstances that were deemed harsh and oppressive. They even come up with a proposal for workers who are less than 20 in a workplace. They mustn't be given the right to join a union. They're ridiculous. They're absurd. And in that meeting, they said that domestic workers must not be treated as workers under the Act. They said that. They opposed that. Imagine Trinidad and Tobago went to the ILO convention in Geneva and supported the convention for workers who are domestic workers to be treated as workers in law under the Industrial Relations Act here. And when Aaron McLeod came back, everybody thought that you would have brought an amendment to the Industrial Relations Act so that our domestic workers could be treated as workers under the IRA. And if they have a grievance, they could take it up through a union. And they refuse to support that. They say that that must not become law. So the employers have been on a rampage over the last 3-4 years. I mean, look how many workers have been retrenched. People get a pay cut and so on. You know all. The question is, where do we go from here? On this occasion of the 85th anniversary of Labor Day, where do we go from here? So not only must we celebrate, but we must take a little time out to reflect on where we want to go from here. And the answer is in all your hands. I wanted to take a little quotation from what a good friend of mine, Lincoln Lewis, said. Now, Lincoln Lewis, for those who don't know, he used to be the General Secretary of the Caribbean Congress of Labour. And he did an interview, it was carried in The Guardian, in the Guyana Review, on December 10, 2008. I find it very relevant today. He said, "It is the workers themselves who must agitate for change. It is they who must demand accountability. It is they who must ensure that their unions adhere to democratic practices. In the final analysis, it is the workers themselves who must agitate for change." Sometimes we tend to forget, according to Lincoln, that unions are the property of the workers. The experience of the past tells me that if the labor movement is to grow and to serve its purpose, workers need to be more vigilant about holding their leaders to account and about ensuring that the structures of the organization function in a democratic and transparent way. So I am saying that now is the time that workers have to intervene in their unions and make sure that unions are battle fit. And they can only do that by participating, getting involved in all the discussions and debate, and giving direction to where this thing has to go. If anything at all, the 85th anniversary of Labor Day, it should serve as a basis for us recapturing the spirit of 1937. We did that in 1989 when we were faced with the same problems. We organized against the punitive measures that the government was inflicting on us. They take away the COLA in 1989. You know. They cut people's salary by 10%. Government do that. A lot of you all today wouldn't know that. And we organized a general strike, a one-day strike against it. We call that the Day of Resistance on the 6th of March 1989, because we got back that strength and confidence that we could take on those things and defeat it, and we did. That is how we get back COLA. If we didn't do that then, you think we could be talking about consolidation of COLA now? Because we fought that and won it. So today, it is important that we recapture that spirit of 1937 from our foreparents. And more than that, we must ensure that we act in unity with each other. Because all our problems, whether it is that of the public servants or the teachers or of NP workers, you know, we represent a group of workers in NP, right? They haven't had an increase like everybody else for years. We write NP to start the negotiation. NP can't even put an offer on the table. We had to send the matter to the Ministry of Labour, and up to now we can't even get conciliation going. Because NP has not received any directive from the Minister of Finance to offer the union anything. So they too, our own members represented by our union, they too also suffering like everybody else. But we can't tackle this problem individually as unions. We have to realize how it was tackled in the past, learn the lessons of the past. Through organization, through unity, all our struggles are one struggle. We have to come together. We must do that. We can't afford division in the ranks now, because the employers are very united. And we have to be able to act in unity. And one of the instruments that would allow us to do that is the National Kasabo. In 1989, the trade unions and the shop stewards and branch officers in particular, they developed that institution that allowed for the second rank leaders throughout the country to come together down at the Cement and Waterfront Workers Trade Union Hall and develop strategies. They formed an organizing committee to organize public meetings here, there, and everywhere to mobilize the workers. And in addition to that, they implemented all those meetings. They organized how to conduct propaganda in the villages. They've had meetings in Rio Claro Junction and so on. So we have to be able to act in unity. We have to be able to form a plan of action through the National COSABO and implement that. Key to this whole thing is the second-rank leaders coming together to develop an approach of how we are going to go forward. And finally, all our issues, whether it is teachers, whether it is farmers, fishermen, all our issues, whether it is communities that are under siege by crime, all our issues have one common thread: a desire of our people for better quality of life. And in that, we must be united, but we must be prepared to act in concert. So on this occasion of the 85th anniversary of Labor Day, our union extends warm and fraternal greetings to everybody. Let us recapture the spirit of 1937 and let us say with one loud voice to all our members in Parliament, let us say with one loud voice that there must be absolutely no cuts in our NIS pension. Thank you very much and enjoy the weekend.